In this 25th anniversary year of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation continues to honor America's heroes. Heroes like Fire Lieutenant Michael Wells, who was inspired by 9/11 to serve his community. After 14 dedicated years of service, he lost his battle with occupational cancer, leaving behind his wife, Katie, and their 3 children. Tunnel to Towers honored Lieutenant Wells by paying off the family's mortgage in recognition of his sacrifices. Donate $11 monthly and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Oh, boy. The Grateful Dead. Never my thing. Weed, never my thing. I mean, I get the time, and one time, actually, I'll share this with you. 1988, I want to say it was. I was very young Joe Concha, in my very, very early teens, and some friends said, hey, our older brother is going to the Grateful Dead concert. We don't have tickets, but we could at least hang out for the tailgate at Giant Stadium. It used to be called Giant Stadium before MetLife. And it was actually a very interesting time. Everybody was high. The place completely was consumed by weed. It's basically like New York now. You can't walk anywhere without that stench. So we just did the tailgate. They went in the concert. We threw a football around. Very happy. That's as close as I got to the Grateful Dead. But for some, I guess it was kind of a religion. You follow them around the country and all that. I had a friend that saw 38 Pearl Jam concerts. So it's a thing with some people. Not me. Concerts in general, not really me. No. I saw U2 3 times because I'm a dork. Anyway, let's move on to the fun stuff. James Comey has been indicted, as you know, as you've been listening to on this station here in New York, WABC, all day and yesterday. He has now responded to this indictment, and it is as pious and as condescending as your average Jim Acosta report. This is cut number 9. Go.
Oh, they're back. This time about a picture of seashells on a North Carolina beach a year ago. And this won't be the end of it. But nothing has changed with me. I'm still innocent. I'm still not afraid. And I still believe in the independent federal judiciary. So let's go. But it's really important that all of us remember this is not who we are as a country. This is not how the Department of Justice is supposed to be. And the good news is we get closer every day to restoring those values. Right. Keep the faith.
Okay. There's James Comey of Allendale, New Jersey, one town over from me here in North Jersey. Look, Comey pretends not to know what 8647 means. Right. Oh, you know, when I worked at a restaurant, it meant 86 the person out of the restaurant. Before he says, oh, you know, maybe this could be a clever political saying. He knew exactly what it was. And since, again, I'm an opinion guy, I could say this. He did the shells. Absolutely. Because no one else came across them. He took the photo. 8647 obviously means get rid of Trump one way or the other. 86, get rid of 47, president. Here he is on his best pal, Stephen Colbert's show. And again, this is so telling right here. This tells you he is lying about not knowing what 8647 meant. Cut number 3, go.
Is this Instagram?
Instagram,
You grammed this. You were walking down the beach. What happened? You were walking down the beach, and you saw this on the beach?
Yeah, my wife and I, Patrice, were walking on the beach and saw those numbers in shells on the beach. And
you didn't do this. Somebody else did this.
Yeah, somebody else did it. We were on a walk preparing for this week to roll out of my book.
Yep.
She looked at it and said, why'd someone put their address in the sand?
All right.
And then we stood at it, trying to figure out what it was. And she'd long been a server in restaurants. And she said, you know what I think it is?
Yeah.
I think it's a reference to restaurants when you would 86 something in a restaurant.
Right, it's off the menu.
Sure. Yeah. I said, no, I remember when I was a kid, you'd say 86 to get out of a place. This place stinks. Let's 86 it.
I was a bartender. You would 86 a customer if they were getting drunk. Like, let's 86 them. Let's, like, give them a low-proof alcohol, something like that. Yeah.
And so I said, I think it's a clever political message. And she said, you should take a picture of it. I said, sure. And then she said, you should Instagram that. And boom.
Oh, so the wife made you do it. It's a clever political message. 8647. Clever. It literally calls for the assassination of Donald Trump. And by the way, oh yeah, he was rolling out his book that week, the same week, he's the only person on the planet to encounter 8647 on a beach written in seashells. Give me a break. And here's the thing. Todd Blanche, who is the acting attorney general right now, said that for a year they've been investigating this because obviously it's a threat against the president. It's not just shells on a beach. Somebody, in terms of witnesses, in terms of something, came forward to maybe say that Comey did this himself. And he lied to investigators when he said he just happened to stumble upon it. Maybe he did it. And if he did, and he lied about that, that's a big deal. So I don't think they would have brought forth this indictment unless they know that Comey lied about actually putting those shells together himself. Meanwhile, this is what Comey, while he was just ousted as FBI director by Trump in his first term, talking to George Stephanopoulos, who again is a Democratic operative posing as an anchor on ABC. This is what Comey had to say about the garbage Steele dossier, which was the basis of the entire Russian investigation, which turned out to be the aforementioned garbage based on nothing. It was based on things that Richard Steele, MI6, hired by the Clinton campaign to dig up dirt on Trump, including peeing on hookers in Moscow. Well, listen to this because this is so telling. And this tells you that you're dealing with a real trash individual in James Comey. This is cut number 10. Go.
Did you tell him that the Steele dossier had been financed by his political opponents?
No. I don't even think I used the term Steele dossier. I just talked about additional material.
But did he have a right to know that?
That had been financed by his political opponents? I don't know the answer to that. It wasn't necessary for my goal, which was to alert him that we had this information.
Did you believe his denial?
Honestly, never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but I don't know whether the current president of the United States was with prostitutes peeing on each other in Moscow in 2013. It's possible, but I don't know.
It's possible. Turned out to be complete BS. And he pushed this on national television. This is an activist, James Comey. They all are. John Brennan, former head of the CIA, the director, also anti-Trump, completely and totally. Andy McCabe, FBI, also profoundly anti-Trump, fired by the FBI for leaking to the Wall Street Journal sensitive information. James Clapper, DNI, same thing, perjured himself in front of Congress, and now is paid for by CNN to give anti-Trump analysis. Every single one of these heads of intelligence committees has been proven to be profoundly as partisan as Keith Olbermann meets Don Lemon, except they ran very major things. It's an absolute joke. Meanwhile, let's get to Jimmy Kimmel, shall we? Because, well, you know, we can't go a night without talking about Jimmy Kimmel, the Pope of late night. He is now tripling down on his joke. Remember the joke that Melania Trump looks like an expectant widow. She's glowing because Trump's going to die soon. If that's humor, I'm not quite getting it. And here we have Kimmel now all happy because Trump made a joke about how his parents were married for 63 years and that he and Melania will not make it to 63 years because, well, you know, the math just doesn't quite add up. Well, now Kimmel's like, wow, see, this means Trump should be fired because he made a joke about his age or something. And I'll explain what this all means on the other side of cut number 17. Go.
Trump was very excited about hosting the king, and a lot of it is because Trump's mom was a great fan of the royal family.
My wonderful mother, Mary McLeod. She came to America at 19, met my incredible father. We loved him so much. We all loved him. We loved her. We loved him, Fred, and they were married for 63 years. And excuse me if you don't mind. That's a record we won't be able to match, darling. I'm sorry. It's just not going to work out that way.
Wait a minute. Did he just make a joke about his death?
No.
Only Donald Trump would demand I be fired for making a joke about his old age and then a day later go out and make a joke about his own old age.
You have to be kidding me. Kimmel thinks that he was making a joke about Trump's age, or at least is trying to make that argument. No, he literally was wishing for Trump's death. Why else would you say that Melania Trump is going to be an expected widow as a result? Nothing to do with age, because here's why we know this. Joe Biden was in office for 4 years. His brain turned to applesauce sometime around 2020, even before he took office. Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, is about 10 years younger than Joe. So if we're going to make a joke about age and age difference between wife and husband, where was the Joe Biden joke all those years when Biden was in office? When clearly he's not aging remotely as well as Trump. Where was it? Where was the Michelle Obama, Barack Obama expected widow joke? Didn't happen as well. So now Kimmel thinks that somehow he's winning here because Trump made a joke about not being as married as his parents were, therefore justifying Kimmel's joke that Melania will be a widow soon. ABC, I'm not saying fire the guy. I'm saying look at the math. Look at the free market. Kimmel is in third place right now, distant third. His show loses $40 million a year for ABC and Disney. Why would you keep him on when the PR is horrible to at least half the country and he's not making you any money? That's an easy thing to conclude as far as what you do with this guy, but instead they gave him a contract extension. Meanwhile, here's a flashback. Now Kimmel says, jokes are jokes. Everything's fair game. Okay, great. So when Aaron Rodgers, formerly of the Packers, Super Bowl winning quarterback, and then the Jets, and now with the Pittsburgh Steelers, here's Aaron Rodgers telling an Epstein joke about Kimmel, and Kimmel, you can't tell jokes about him. That's off limits. Cut number 21, go.
He decided to insinuate that I am a pedophile. This is how these nuts do it now. You don't like Trump, you're a pedophile. It's their go-to move. And it shows you how much they actually care about pedophilia. I hope the many decent people out there who vote conservative or whatever you want to call what goes on now, I don't see anything conservative about any of it, but to those of you who are part of that, I want to say this, and I hope you'll listen and give it a little bit of consideration. If you are a member of a group that think it's okay to randomly call someone a child molester because you don't like what that person has to say, maybe you should rethink being a part of that group. And I think Aaron Rodgers has the right to express any opinion he wants to, but saying someone is a pedophile is not an opinion, nor is it trash talk. Sorry, Pat McAfee. And as far as the, well, you say things about people all the time argument goes, yes, I do. It's not the same. It's not even close to the same. We say a lot of things on this show. We don't make up lies. In fact, we have a team of people who work very hard to sift through facts and reputable sources before I make a joke. And that's an important distinction. A joke about someone, even when that someone is Donald Trump, even a person who lies from the minute he wakes up until the minute he's smearing orange makeup on his My Pillow at night, even he deserves that consideration. And we give it to him because the truth still matters. And when I do get something wrong, which happens on rare occasions, you know what I do? I apologize for it, which is what Aaron Rodgers should do, which is what a decent person would do, but I bet he won't.
Oh, okay. So let me unpack that for a moment. Jimmy Kimmel doesn't lie on his show. How about when you said, Jimmy, that the shooter The assassin of Charlie Kirk was a MAGA supporter. You lied about that, right? What a joke this guy is. I mean, the piousness, that's the thing. The Pope of late night, the way this guy speaks down to people, that he's above everything. No, you lie on your show all the time. And you couch it in being a comedian, I guess. But anyway, so here's how this is going to all work out. Kimmel will keep his job. And he loves the attention. And when Trump responds to him, or Melania Trump for that matter, trust me, it's orgasmic in Jimmy Kimmel's mind because he's actually being paid attention to. All while he still stays in a distant third place in the late night ratings. This is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
You're sick of hanging around and you like to travel. Get tired of traveling, you want to settle down. I guess I can't revoke us all the trying.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18-plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody. So, Scottie Scheffler, who is probably the best golfer in the world by far, not quite Tiger Woods level, but he's pretty close. Here he is on President Trump in terms of, and you know what? Personally, I could speak to this. He treats everyone the same. And his attention to you in a moment when you speak to him makes you feel like you're the only person in the room. This isn't like a butt-kissing kind of exercise. I'm telling you, there's a reason why this guy is so popular and is president, not once, but twice, 2 non-consecutive terms, which we have not seen since Grover Cleveland, I believe, back in another century. Here's Scottie Scheffler talking about Trump, and I think this is very, very telling. Cut number 5, go.
You know, the president's kind of funny. He loves the game of golf. He loves supporting golfers, and I get a call or a text from him sometimes after wins, and he just loves the game of golf. And he's one of those guys when you're around him, he does such a good job of almost like feeding confidence into everybody around him. That was one of the things I noticed a lot with the little bit of time I spent him is he treats everybody the same and treats people with the utmost respect. And whether you're the person serving us lunch or the caddy on the golf course or the guy who's the president of the club that we're at, he treats everybody like they're the greatest person in the world. And I don't think he has any plans to address us as a team, but I'm sure if things go well, we'll hear from him this week.
Are you able to give us any insight into what he says when he calls you?
Great job.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. And again, Scottie Scheffler, by the way, was great in Happy Gilmore 2, where he gets arrested multiple times, which is self-deprecation at its finest. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Let's come back to what I find to be an incredible visit by King Charles, who, and the Queen, for that matter. Again, when you speak with his accent, you sound, there's the old rule about the Brits. When you have a British accent, it adds $15,000 to your bank account, adds 15 points to your IQ, and somehow takes 15 points, or at least, what do you want to call it, 15 pounds off your weight. All right, so yeah, you're British, things are good. I can only imagine what the Brits think when we come over there and do speeches, because they sound so dignified, even if they're talking gibberish. If you're British, you sound really, really smart. The Americans, not so much. Anyway, here's King Charles in Washington at the White House yesterday. I'm sorry, this is in front of Congress. And, well, he makes a good point. If not for the Brits, we'd all be speaking French, I think. Cut number 8, go.
This said, our French friends can feel equally at home with a glance at a map. Indeed, you recently commented, Mr. President, that if it were not for the United States, European countries would be speaking German. Dare I say that if it wasn't for us, you'd be speaking French.
Wow. So everybody having a good time with the king and the queen, except for Zohran Mamdani, our new mayor, who has a big, big problem with the king. So basically, he's saying that unless this, Kohinoor diamond from India is somehow returned, then he's not going to speak to him. He has a big, big problem with King Charles, and therefore, he is persona non grata, just like Bibi Netanyahu is among Zohran Mamdani's administration, where actually, if Bibi came here to, say, go to United Nations, for example, he would be arrested by Mamdani because he's a war criminal and he's committing genocide or something like that. Anyway, party pooper, Zohran Mamdani. This is cut number 16. Go.
So you haven't thought about anything you might say if you say hello to him and he stops to chat?
If I was to speak to the king separately from that, I would probably encourage him to return the Kohinoor diamond.
Okay. Oh, so the socialist again. Does he think that actually the king runs things over in the UK? Because I'm pretty sure it's a symbolic figure, or that's what they do over there, right? There's kings and queens, but they don't act like kings and queens. There's a prime minister, Keir Starmer, who's at something like 1% approval at this point. Anyway, in 1849, this diamond that Mamdani is talking about wound up in Britain's possession following the annexation of the Punjab and forcing its 10-year-old king. Yeah, 10-year-old king. I have a 10-year-old. Trust me. If he's king, it's candy day every day, and we're going to watch Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom over and over again. But, again, different time. 10-year-old king to sign the Treaty of Lahore, requiring him to hand sovereignty and the diamond over to the British, apparently. So the Brits got this diamond, let's see, 1849. We're talking about nearly 200 years ago. And then Mamdani's number one goal is to get the diamond back. All right. Well, that approval rating is going to keep going down, down, down as the promises keep going away, away, away. Because now, apparently, Mamdani can't get the money for all the promises that he gave during the campaign. Free childcare, free busing. It depends on Albany, and Albany is saying, pound sand. So now Mamdani, I guess, will blame racism and the state government of New York for why he can't give you all that free stuff when he knew full well it was never going to happen in the first place. Meanwhile, Dan Goldman, speaking of wonderful New York politicians, he is a congressman. He's like the poor man's Adam Schiff. Like, he goes on cable news and tries to be as provocative as possible, and it's just not happening. Here he is talking about, we really need to turn down the temperature, except Dan Goldman is the guy who said this once. This is cut number 2. Go.
We know what Donald Trump's rhetoric leads to because we know many times over how his followers use violence. The point is that we do need to dial it down on all sides. It is just unquestionable at this point that man cannot see public office again. He is not only unfit, he is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
Eliminated. What other deduction do you have as far as what eliminated means, except, kill the guy? That was before the first assassination attempt against Donald Trump, July 13th, 2024, Butler, Pennsylvania, where again, doesn't turn his head a certain way at a certain time, Donald Trump gets his head blown off on national television. Okay, then there was assassination attempt number 2 down in Palm Beach, Florida, West Palm Beach, Trump International, golf course, 6 hole. There's a guy sitting there for 18 hours with long guns, gear, you name it. This guy was ready for bear because he had military training and was waiting for Trump to walk up to that 6 hole where he's on a green, open space, free shot. And fortunately, a Secret Service agent saw that rifle coming through the fence and was able to shoot at the guy. And eventually he was arrested after trying to get away. That's number 2. Number 3, we have a guy staying at the Washington Hilton over the weekend. As a guest, was able to bring down all these weapons, including a rifle, handgun, knives, into a closet, basically where they store trays for the dinner, was able to get out, run right by Secret Service. Now, thankfully, he was stopped before he got to the ballroom. But again, I make this point. What would happen if, let's say, the Iranians sent 20 jihadists to the Washington Hilton that night? They're not going to get stopped. Some, yeah, maybe, not all. And everybody in that room would either be dead, wounded, including the president, if that occurred. And no one seems to care. Everybody is blaming Trump now for his rhetoric, for bringing it on himself. You know, that skirt, way too short. You bought it on yourself. Anyway, let's see. Let's play a game here, shall we? And this is obviously what we saw with Trump as far as people calling for his destruction, including Charlemagne the God. Yeah, he's like a big deal on radio, and he's authentic, and he takes on both sides. No, he doesn't. He's a hack, an absolute hack. Here he is saying that the murder of Donald Trump is actually justified based on what Trump has been saying, not Charlemagne, who's called Trump a fascist over and over again on his show, to the point where maybe somebody will take matters into their own hands and try to kill Trump himself. But no, it's Trump's fault, according to this hack, Charlemagne, hack. Cut number 19, go.
The Trump administration has caused so much pain to people's everyday lives that some folks are fed up and willing to risk it all. Simple as that. Yeah. And if you're going to talk about anybody toning down violent political rhetoric, start with the president, Donald J. Trump.
You begged Charlemagne, Kamala Harris, to call Donald Trump a fascist over and over again to her face. And now you're talking about, oh, yeah, Trump's the problem. You're the problem, pal. And I'm sick of people putting him up on a pedestal as somebody who's honest and like a Bill Maher who calls balls and strikes. And I think Maher does that. I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but I think he's a principled guy. Charlemagne the God absolutely is not. Meanwhile, let's play this game, shall we? It's Rush Limbaugh, the late, great Rush Limbaugh. And this is awesome. I found this actually earlier today. And it's a game that he plays where, are you an Iranian or are you a Democrat? And boy, it's really hard to tell the difference. Here's Rush Limbaugh, cut number 1, go.
We would play a little game here. We're going to go side-by-side comparison. Up first is the Iranian foreign minister.
It's a war crime. But has he made U.S. more secure?
And here is Democrat presidential candidate Pocahontas Warren.
We now have a president tweeting threats of war crimes. This is not making America safer.
Iranian or Democrat? You decide.
Is a war crime. And the idea of spending trillions of dollars more on an endless war in Iran.
Is a Democrat or is this an Iranian?
He is prepared to commit war crimes. He has killed people of this region. He has spent $1 trillion.
So who's that? Is that a Democrat or is that an...
Hard to
tell.
No,
you're wrong. It's not a Democrat, although it may as well be that crazy Bernie. It's a war crime to be learning from the Taliban about destroying cultural sites. Unbelievable. The idea of spending trillions of dollars more on an endless war in Iran is prepared to commit war crimes. He has killed people of this region. He has spent $1 trillion. You can't tell a difference here other than the accents.
That's very good. And that's why he is the best of all time in radio. And we'll play plenty of Rush clips on here, believe me, because he's that good. And by the way, never had any guests for the most part. once in a blue moon, like a president. Otherwise, that's what we do here. No guests. I find guests. I like the guests that I've had. Trust me, I love them. I think they're great. But overall, I've decided not to go the guest route because I find, for the most part, that you're here to listen to my take on things. It's only an hour show. Than to do the guest thing back and forth, where all I know is when I listen to sports radio and they have the guest on, that's usually when I change the station. When Mike and the Mad Dog are on FAN, I liked hearing their back and forth. The minute they bought in, like, all right, let's hear from Jim Fossil. I'm sorry, I changed it. I changed the station. It just, there's something about it. Anyway, let me hold up to my promise here to be entertaining. Why don't we go to Bill O'Reilly, shall we? He used to occupy the spot at 9 p.m. here on WABC in New York. He thinks that, and I am with him completely 100% on this, Jimmy Kimmel's joke about Melania Trump being an expectant widow, in other words, Donald Trump, I hope he dies soon, was intentional. This is O'Reilly, cut number 7. Go.
Now, you may remember when Kimmel, in September, accused MAGA people of being part of Charlie Kirk's assassination. He was suspended by Disney for about a week. It wasn't much of a punishment, and Kimmel made the most of it. I cut him some slack. I said, maybe he made a mistake. You know, people misspeak. I certainly have over my career. But that was a mistake, giving Jim some slack, because now there is no question the man is not a comedian, not a satirist, none of those things. He is a hater.
Yep.
So you can imagine if there were a right-wing host on late night or morning or whatever attacking Barack Obama the way Kimmel attacks Donald Trump. A person wouldn't last a week. There'd be an outcry. The companies would fire the person, whatever it may be. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. But Walt Disney stands behind Jimmy Kimmel. Why?
Now, that's the whole thing. Why? And let's look at precedent for a moment, because precedent's very, very important here. There was a Trump supporter named Dion Cini, regular guy. I was in Disney last week, and he was on a ride like I was on a ride, except this guy in 2018 decided to, because they take photos while you're on the ride and then you can buy them after. It's kind of cool because you're moving at a very, very high speed. Like on some of the rides I went on, I used to have a phobia for roller coasters. Now I'm kind of really into them. But boy, I mean, some of these things. There's one ride I was on that goes 80 miles an hour at one point, and you're on a motorcycle, but you're on a roller coaster. It's called, what was it called again? Tron. Yeah. Anyway, so this guy, I guess knowing that his photo was going to be taken, probably a veteran of these things, knowing that when you go through a ride at a certain point, a photo will be taken, then it will be sold to you. So Dion Cini, in this case, middle-aged guy, holds up a banner saying Trump 2020 at the exact moment when the photo was taken. Disney saw this and not pulled the guy aside and said, hey, you know, we don't want any political statements here. It's a fun place. You know, it's for the kids, whatever. They banned him for life for holding up a Trump 2020 banner on Splash Mountain. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment on Grateful Dead Night, Wednesday. Woohoo!
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, a little stat for you. I'm not going to pretend to be smart here, but the Grateful Dead have sold more than 35 million albums worldwide. They hold the record for the most top 40 albums on the Billboard 200 in history, more than any other band. Did not know that. Not my thing, again, as I said. But maybe I'll listen more. Maybe I'm missing out on something. Don't know. I've got to expand my horizons. Not in that way, the Grateful Dead way, but you know what I mean. Anyway, Tim Walz, the goofy 80s sitcom dad governor of Minnesota, the worst vice presidential candidate of all time, had his final State of the State address in Minnesota today. He lays out his legacy. And, oh boy, this is disturbing what Minnesota is left with. Cut number 13. 13, go.
This is not a goodbye, friends, but that being said, it is my last State of the State address. Next year, take it. But the things we implemented will be here for decades.
Let's see. What did Tim Walz implement? Let's see. Driver's license for illegals, abortion up to the moment of birth, tampons in boys' bathrooms, elementary school boys' bathrooms, mind you, legalized child mutilation, desecration of the state flag, billions lost to fraud scandals, and the largest tax increase in state history. Minnesota actually gets to inherit that, and Tim Walz is proud of that. And if that isn't a whole ball of wrong, I don't know quite what is. Anyway, you got to hear this. This is Dr. Alma Stanford. She's running for Congress in Pennsylvania. And she's actually asked a good question. I think local news does a good job. I criticize media a lot, legacy media, national media, CNN, MS Now, New York Times, Washington Post. But local media, I think, still has true journalists for the most part. Some are left. I get it completely. But this is in Philadelphia. She's running for Congress, and she can't answer a question in terms of who should be in charge of immigration enforcement. This is how you do journalism. Cut number 14, go.
You also said you're running to abolish ICE. Mm-hmm. This is something that we've heard other Democrats and activists talk about.
Yeah.
From an immigration enforcement perspective,
Yes.
Who do you think should be in charge of enforcing immigration laws?
That's a good question. And you can pause because I just want to think about it for a minute. Go ahead.
We need to
think about
continue,
it.
Though.
Okay.
What?
Who do I think should be in charge of
never gave this really
enforcing
any
immigration
thought.
laws?
Who should be in
Not the executive branch. So not the president. So it belongs with Congress.
Oh, okay. Congress. They'll run immigration enforcement, except that's not Congress's job. Their job is who gets the money. They control the purse strings. It's not their job to do that. And the fact that she's like, can you pause? I got to think about this. Never gave it any thought. It's just anti-Trump, anti-ICE nonsense. And this person is running for Congress. And guess what? She'll probably win because it's near Philadelphia. Anyway, before we go, actually, we're going now. I hear the Grateful Dead. All right, we're good. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us. This is Concha at Night. We're back tomorrow night, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. From, let's see, tomorrow night I'll be broadcasting live from Springfield, Illinois. Don't ask. It should be fun. Maybe the food's good. Maybe not. Anyway, the Grateful Dead. The most top 200 hits of all time. I did not know that. Here we go. But we're back tomorrow night. And until then, I got 2 words for you. Bye-bye.
Sometimes